November 17th, 2012, Saturday. Virtuoso, Glimmer, She, Cosmos, and IQ arrived at Bishamon Base for their Saturday enrichment class. All but IQ carried a big duffel bag with them, and She carried two. Dr. Noguchi was quick to find them in the big hall. "You did bring the costumes. I can't wait to see them on you," she said. "Mother, we brought someone else with us." She gestured to IQ. "You must be Dr. Noguchi," IQ said with his Irish accent as he stepped forward to introduce himself. "And you must be IQ. I have heard good things about you." Dr. Noguchi shook his hand as she addressed the others. "I'm going to show IQ around engineering while the rest of you get changed. She can show you where." IQ and Dr. Noguchi were quickly engaged in conversation about the technology used in the Sentinels. Both of them beamed with excitement as they spoke. When She and the others walked into the engineering room, they were hardly noticed by the two. "Mother, what do you think?" She said. Dr. Noguchi turned to face them and was instantly silent. "You look like a superhero. Your father has to see this." Dr. Noguchi spoke out loud in Japanese to the computers in the room. "I sent him a message to come here. Look at all of you. Do you think it's me? I think it is really you. It's everything your father and I ever hoped you would be. Virtuoso designed it for me." She looked to her friend next to her. "All of you look so grown up in these. Wait, I thought Virtuoso was going to be too busy to come. Amanette decided I needed a break, and lunch in Tokyo sounded nice," Virtuoso said. "And look at your mirrored finish. I love it," Dr. Noguchi said as she walked around Virtuoso. "Thank you. I didn't know if I was going to keep it, but everyone likes it on me so much. Now I like it too." "Little Omni in his armor," Dr. Noguchi said as she looked at Cosmos. "That looks like it would protect you well." "It sure does. I can take a couple of shots from the hitters in this thing," Cosmos said. "And you?" Dr. Noguchi stopped to look at Glimmer. "You look like an angel." "Thank you so much," Glimmer said. Shogun could be heard entering engineering as he spoke. "I received your message. Shogun stopped as he saw his daughter in a red armor. "What do you think?" She asked. Shogun stopped and stared at his little girl. "I think you look like a shogun." Everyone there could see Shogun's eyes get watery as he spoke. His voice trembled with pride as he spoke to his daughter about her new costume. The others who were there remained silent and watched as Shogun approached his daughter and examined her red armor. "This is wonderful. I suppose I will have to retire soon so you can take over the Tokyo Hall," Shogun said. "I think me being able to take on your role is a lifetime away," she said as she looked up to her father. "It seemed like just yesterday you were asking me why I wore a red armor to work. You wondered what kind of job your father had that he dressed up so. Now look at you. Have you been gone to Alpha so long that you've grown up?" The intense attention her father was giving her made her start to get emotional, and she sought to avoid crying in front of her peers. "I'm glad you like it. I had Cosmos and Virtuoso make one for you so you could take a look at the new systems they put in. Connor said the new costumes may soon be used for all the superheroes in the field." She used her powers to quickly pull a bag to herself from across the room. "It looks identical to the costume you normally wear. I think I would love to look at the new things that are being invented at Alpha. I hear especially good things about the properties of the Omnium being used," Shogun said. "Why don't you go explain the systems to your father while the rest of us start working on the Sentinels?" Dr. Noguchi said. Shogun paused as his daughter took the initiative. "We can go back to the hall and I can explain it to the others also. They may have some good ideas about future versions," she said as she and Shogun left the room. "Well, I'm sure they will be a while," Dr. Noguchi continued. "I am impressed with the Omnium. Not only is it non-conductive, it also absorbs radiation far better than lead or other heavy metals. Did you know it virtually stops radio waves, X-rays, UV, and other electromagnetic waves?" Cosmos gave a blank stare. "No, I didn't know that." Virtuoso went straight into lab rat mode. "We found that out in the lab when we were working with the communications equipment. We placed antennas on the outside of the plates, and the sensitive equipment is insulated by Omnium, which also protects it." "Your communication circuits can take the shock of combat?" IQ jumped in and said, "We had to use stiff gel circuits instead of hard silicone ones. That way we were able to use the nanovats to weave them into large link nanomail. The result was both strong and flexible circuits that were then encased in Omnium. If the Omnium package isn't breached, the circuits remain intact." Dr. Noguchi blinked twice when she heard that. "Have you subjected them to hitters yet?" Olympian with his chopper can break one, or Cosmos with his Omni power. Otherwise, they've held up really well, the Irish boy said as he reached into his front pocket. Would I be able to get the technical specs on? Dr. Noguchi stopped talking as IQ handed her a data chip. It's all there. Cosmos can build you your own nanovat if you like. Once you design what you need, he can encase it in omnium like he has for us. Thank you, IQ, Dr. Noguchi said. So you're the first 7 at Alpha. We'll be expecting big things from your brain. So I've been told, IQ said with a broad smile. Well, I would like one of those nanovats later. Right now, I have work for Cosmos on the internal frame. I thought they were done, Cosmos said. True, the new Sentinels are just about finished. I may upgrade their computer systems after what I've heard today. But today I was hoping to upgrade their internal structure and outer shell to omnium. Is that something you can do? Ooh, that's a lot to keep track of. Can I get a check sheet or something to make sure I don't forget something on the inside? Dr. Noguchi reached to a small Palm Pilot computer on the workbench near her. Glimmer, your job is to make sure he doesn't forget anything. She handed the device to the blonde French girl. She already has a check sheet, very detailed, Glimmer said as she looked at the device. We'll get to work, Cosmos said as he walked toward the Sentinels with Glimmer. Dr. Noguchi, I was hoping I could use my power to catch up on what I've missed the last few weeks you've been working on the Sentinels. Would you mind? Virtuoso asked. Dr. Noguchi smiled and answered. For your enrichment here, you're supposed to be learning. If you can learn in minutes what I've learned in weeks, then using your power is just a faster way to learn. While I'm doing it, could I share the information with IQ? Only if you share back the other way, and I see everything that has gone on in his head while at the Alpha Lab. IQ put his hands up and said, Slow down. I don't think you want to see everything that goes on in an Irish boy's head. IQ smiled and his charm made the comment funny. You're cute. A baby, but cute, Dr. Noguchi said as she walked over to a few chairs on the side. Will this take long? To do just facts both ways, maybe an hour, Virtuoso said. Let's get started then, IQ said. As usual, Virtuoso vastly understated the time necessary for the procedure. 3 hours later, a stunned Dr. Noguchi tried to find her way to her feet from her chair. IQ just fell to his hands and knees. Virtuoso stared straight ahead and was still like a statue. I heard something, Glimmer said as she looked back at the others. What is it? Cosmos said as he stopped working. IQ just threw up, Glimmer said as she darted across the room with her flying power. Cosmos saw what was happening and touched his earpiece. We have a possible medical situation with your mother, IQ, and Virtuoso. I can't stand, IQ said weakly. Dr. Noguchi had fought her way to her feet as Virtuoso fell onto her backside. That was a little more than I expected, Dr. Noguchi said. Shogun burst into the room with Charisma, the Tokyo team healer, trying to keep up with Shi. What happened? Dr. Noguchi said as she took a deep breath and tried to focus her eyes. What happened? Shogun repeated slower and softer. Telepathic brain dump. Dr. Noguchi's eyes watered as she kept trying to focus. She wiped her eyes and shook her head. That was quite the experience. Shogun's wife started to pace back and forth while shaking her hands. Do you need a healer? The brains on the floor do, she said as she started to move normally. How was your mother not floored like the rest? Cosmos asked she. Remember, she was top stealth in Japan at one time. She's tougher than she looks, she answered. Charisma placed her hands on IQ and then on Virtuoso. Get up slowly. Thank you, IQ said as he tried to look dignified after being sick. How long was that? Virtuoso asked. We've been working on the Sentinels for about 3 hours, Glimmer answered. Oh, I'm sorry, Virtuoso said. I don't do that enough to really... It's hard to tell time like that. Then maybe it shouldn't have been done, Shogun said firmly. Relax, Dr. Noguchi said to Shogun. We're all fine and I learned what I was supposed to. IQ, did you learn? IQ stopped to think about the experience. I remember everything. I do too. The big memory is one of my gifts, Virtuoso said. See, we just learned a lot from each other and no harm done, Dr. Noguchi said. Who called the medical emergency? Shogun was still stern. I called a possible medical situation, Cosmos said. I think I did, Father. When I heard Mother wasn't well, I thought it could only be a medical emergency, she said. Shogun wasn't happy, but couldn't find anyone to blame. If this is done again, it has to be done under Charisma's supervision. Am I clear?